Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Kimberly.
Hey, beautiful Bill. How are you?
I'm
I know
freaking
how you are.
awesome.
I know. I know you're awesome. You are
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm flying. I'm flying. I'm so happy to be here. I just look forward to this. As it gets closer and closer to having this event, I get back into the teaching of the week. I'm saturated in the truth that is brought forth from Rupert's words and his clarity and understanding. And I'm just so happy to share it with all of you and to have an awesome host, co-host as Kimberly with me and other co-hosts that will guests that will be on the show. I'm just blessed that this is like a Rupert online community that's just sort of it just found itself. It's found its way to me and to us. And I am happy to be here with all of you. I'm happy to be here with Kimberly, whom I love. We have become very dear friends over the years, and her clarity and her love for truth is just something that we like to hang out with each other's um, our highest self of the pull of the truth that we are immersed in. It's not even something that I feel that we're seeking anymore, but we're really we're allowing it, and we're being called into these different experiences with different teachers like Rupert, like Muji. I was with Muji for 3 months and for several times over the last 5 or 6 years, and also now I'm at a school with Byron Katie, and I'm finding just another expansion, another expansive experience in the truth of what we truly are, our essential self, our essential nature, and how fun it is to have all of these different resources and all of these communities. I mean, right
Mm.
now there's 450 people that are in this group, and about 150 are active in being following the book study presentation, the joining each week, because a lot of people follow it on replay. A lot of people follow it live, and it just depends on what you're available for. But it's available as a replay, which is fantastic because people that want to be here and aren't here. We also welcome you guys too. You're here with us. You're not absent from this experience that we're having. And I just am so blessed to have this community of uh, like-minded souls, like-minded beings around the world that are joining with us in this way. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to be with us and to join and to just talk about the experience that is offered in Rupert's book, The Nature of Consciousness. I have I'm marking this one up pretty good. I'm sure that you guys are marking yours up pretty good also. And again, thank you for being here. And Kimberly, thank you for joining us today. From where are you today?
I am on the beautiful island of Martha's Vineyard where I live. I'm in the town of West Tisbury at my friend's retreat campus. And I hopefully more and more will be headquartered here for all the things I offer. But hi, everyone from Martha's Vineyard, from the East Coast. Hi, everybody all over the world.
Yeah,
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 so happy to be here. So
yeah,
happy to be here.
yeah. Me too. So this week, the topic of chapter 4 is, it's kind of like the course. You have a favorite workbook lesson, all of them, and you have a favorite chapter in this book, all of them,
Right.
and you can't turn somewhere where you're not like, oh wow, oh yeah, that's really hitting a spot. And it's almost like it's you're drinking the essence of understanding. So we're sort of drinking it in and allowing it to, and it doesn't take much to drink it in, and just a few words. Like I'm going to share from the very first paragraph of chapter 4, which is the inward facing path, the distinction between consciousness and objects. And before I do that, I haven't looked on the chat board to see anyone's comments, but hello from. So I'm gonna skip back and look at some of the good morning. Great to be here. So I want to say hello to everyone that's here, and thank you for being here with us. And we love you very much. And if you have any questions, just type them in as you have time. If you have any comments or questions, if it's a question, make it short so it doesn't take a lot of reading time to look at it. But just put your questions there. I didn't see any questions on Facebook this week, but I saw a lot of activity while I have been separate from the electronics for 8 days. I just got my cell phone back this morning, and this is tomorrow is our last morning session, and then we leave. We head back to Boston, and then Lisa and I live in Maine, so we're in Ojai, California, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful retreat with Byron Katie. And I'm not going to use up this time because to talk about it, I'll talk about it probably in little bits and pieces along the way. And then I'm going to have a venue where I'm going to offer some insights of the Byron Katie work and how it connects with A Course in Miracles and Rupert Spira's work. As I go along, I'm going to put some of that content together. But on this fourth chapter, the inward facing path, and I so love how Rupert breaks this understanding down so that I can understand how I evolve. There's echoing. I'm sorry about that. Lots of echoing. Is it echoing for anyone else? You have your headset on. I have mine. I don't have a mic on, though. Is someone else getting echoing? Ed or Tracy or Andrea? No echoing here. Can I get another heads up on it? No echoing here. Okay, so I'm not going to try to change what I'm doing. So Sue, maybe you should go out and come back in and see if it's on your device. But what I was saying was that how Rupert breaks this content down for us. It makes it so we can walk into it. We can walk into his clarity and walk into the clarity that's in his mind. And the very first paragraph, I love this. It says, having established the presence of awareness. So first, we're like establishing the presence of awareness, and we miss it for all of the years of our life up until the point of being invited to see it. And all of a sudden we realize that, wow, something is watching every experience that is experienced. And what is aware of this experience? And so I'm just going to invite everyone to just bring that thought into your mind. What is aware of this experience? Because in my mind, this is the shift point. This is the point where we go from the mind that is the objective thinker. We go into what is aware of this experience, and we allow those two to merge. We allow the merging of the thinking mind into the awareness of the experience being. And so I just love that very first paragraph in there. It's not the meat of the subject or of the topic, but it is the starting point of how this how this happens. It comes in, we realize the presence of awareness is, and when we're given the understanding of it, so that what is aware of this experience, now we have the knowing experience of awareness being aware of experience, and awareness being aware of itself. And I just love it. And Kimberly, I would love to hear what your take on any of this fourth chapter is. It could be on this page, could be on any pages, but I would like to look at, and the workbook that I posted on my website is inviting you to look at 2 ideas that are that stand out for you in each of these chapters, and then work with those ideas by giving some contemplation with the idea and the experience, and would love to hear, Kimberly, some of your dialogue, some of your feedback and dialogue from this chapter. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second in just a moment, Bill. I'm going to say something, and then I'm going to make a request, because I want to make sure that we are realizing that the only reason that we're reading the book is for the purpose of having the experience of awareness. That reading a book like this is not because we want to become, I don't want to become an awareness expert. Rupert is profoundly fluent in translating non-objective experience and ideas into words which by their nature are designed to describe limitation. So, it's obvious to me that Rupert, that's his calling. I'm sure he has many callings, but this is definitely one of them. He is a translator of, that which is beyond words into words which we can share and discuss. And what strikes me whenever I pick up one of Rupert's books is that my primary essential relationship with Rupert's words is their invitation to take me to the experience to which they are pointing. And I'm saying this because I would love, Bill, for you to even just briefly take us into a few moments of a direct abiding with this energy, because you are just so, I love your meditation. You're like a walking, meditation stick. You're just you're just walking. You're a walking meditation, whatever you call it. You just embody that, the frequency of it. Because the reason I'm really interested in that is that I believe that after we all invoke this frequency and we abide in it, everything that comes after, even though it's not after, but in terms of past, present, future, it'll seem like it's after. Everything that comes after is going to go directly in. It's not going to have to work its way through the mind the way it does when we just, have a meeting. Because this isn't just a meeting. This is an experience of presence. Just like your title of your show is Pure Presence. That's what this is. So, Bill, would you be willing to just take us for a few moments into abiding as the presence, and then maybe I could continue with what I was thinking after that?
Oh yeah, I'd love it. I was in my mind, I'm going, okay, she's going to put me on the spot. What does that mean?
I didn't mean to scare you, but
it didn't scare me. But I was watching the mind have those ideas, and I love that you brought this up, and I totally love going into this experience of presence. And I invite each one of us to just allow yourself to, if you would want to close your eyes while we have this invitation, and just allow yourself to just relax. Just relax in the presence of awareness, in the presence of your being. Just relax and allow the just the body to sort of just rest. Just relax the shoulders and relax the arms, and just allow the butt to just rest on what it's sitting on, and just allow all the arms and the legs, all the parts of the body, just informed the body to just relax. And if there are thoughts that are occurring, things that you need to do, or place you're going to go next, or what you're going to eat, just allow those thoughts just allow them to just be on the side for right now. You can pick them back up, and they'll be there. Just inform. Just lay them aside for right now, and be in this presence of being. And in between the thoughts, in between each thought, in this quiet awareness, is the light of presence. It's surrounded and pervaded by the light, but this is where it's noticed. So right now, just notice, just be noticing as awareness, as pure presence. And I invite you to just do a little bit of noticing, by noticing if this experience that we're joining in, this experience of presence, this awareness, just notice that, does it have a place where it started? Does it have a beginning? Does this awareness have an ending or a beginning? And just allow yourself to notice the breath. Just notice that there is an awareness even of the breath. There is an awareness of sound. There is an awareness to sensing, to the body's experience of sensing. And in this place of awareness is the knowingness of being. And there's no words here. There are no words in this knowingness. There's no identity in this place. There's no past, future. There's only right now, this moment. This moment right now is genderless, It has no age. And now, as we consider what this is as an experience of noticing, this experience of being is timeless. This beingness envelops all of the earth, all of the solar system. It actually is beyond the beyond. It goes beyond the sun, the moon, and the stars because it encompasses all things as pure light. Pure light. And this is what you are. You are the wordless, eternal presence of eternal light. And there's no place where you're not. And this is what God is. This is what love is. This is what peace is. This is the peace of God right now. That passes all understanding. This is you. This is your essential self. And just allow this to just saturate. Just saturate your experience of being. You can come back to this place anytime, my friends. This is home. This is your true nature, the self. As you were created and always are. And thank you. Amen.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Yeah.
I've missed hearing your voice. Oh, wow. I just want to spend, I'm going to just talk with my eyes closed. It's so relaxing.
Yeah.
So I would be happy to talk about the two things in this chapter that, that stood out for me. And one of them, as you were leading us through that meditation, Bill, it kept showing itself to me in all these new ways that I hadn't considered when I took notes on it. And that point is Rupert talking about the neti-neti process. And he starts with the neti-neti process when he's discussing what it is for an infant to experience the shift from not being able to make any distinction between itself, its environment, and the infant grows in experience. It begins to see that there is a difference between it and its environment.
Yeah.
So he says, before the infant begins to develop the ability to conceptualize experience, or, to make concepts, it knows its experience just from the limited and located perspective of the body. And then it knows, that is, it knows its experience from the point of view of an apparent self that seems to be located in and to share the limits of the body. So the infant starts off not having a separate self, and then it begins to develop a separate self. And that's a natural and essential development in childhood. The emergence of the ego or separate self is a natural and essential part of development in childhood. And that is essentially, Rupert says, the early stages of the neti-neti process in childhood progressively distinguish a knowing self from a known object. And Rupert talks about the neti-neti. That particular sentence is at the bottom of page 39. The paragraph just before that, Rupert explains what neti-neti means and where it comes from. It's a Sanskrit term, translates as not this, or neither this nor that. And so he says in the second to last paragraph on page 39, whilst the development of the infant into a young adult could be considered the initial instinctive neti-neti process through which a young person passes during the early stages of life, the young person's further development requires a conscious effort on the part of the adult. And I was thinking about that neti-neti process during the meditation, because so much of, for instance, what you are doing with Byron Katie right now, so much of our understanding of this presence that you brought us into, abiding in the presence, has to do with letting go of our identification with the things that are obscuring this presence. And the neti-neti process is actually a part of our evolution and our maturation, both as infants. Rupert saying that it's an instinctive initial thing. It happens on its own. In order for an infant to survive, at some point, it has to understand that it is its own self. And a young person has to understand that they are their own selves. But, and this takes me all the way to the last paragraph, or second to last paragraph of the whole chapter, Rupert is saying that this discovery that I'm awareness, the culmination of the I'm not this and I'm not that, is the discovery that we just experienced with Bill. So once I really understand, I'm not the table, like an infant says, okay, I'm not my mother's breast. I'm not the cradle. I'm not my blanket. The young person says, hey, I'm myself. I have my own ideas. I can do things that really make me happy. I can do things that don't make me happy. I have my own self here. Well, Rupert is saying that the next step in the evolution, and that most of us get kind of, we stay right in that place of, well, I'm me and you're you, and that's life, and I'm over here. And that most of us stay in that as adults. And that's what we call life. Here's me over here and you over there. I'm mind, this table is matter, etc. Rupert is inviting us to begin to explore what is the next evolutionary step that we all can take that takes us beyond neti, beyond I'm not, into what am I? Like, if I'm not all these things, then what am I? And that's where he kind of leaves us with this cliffhanger at the end of chapter 4, because he's going to invite us to go even deeper in the next chapter. But to me, what I really heard him say is that in order to fully evolve, like we have been very content to get stuff and to think success is how much material stuff can we add on to ourselves. And Rupert talks about the idea that knowing ourselves or mistaking ourselves for anything finite or limited is suffering. Yet we keep wanting more and more stuff in order to make ourselves feel good. And he's saying, hey, you've stopped your development part way, and your actual full development involves going to the edge of the neti. If you're not all this stuff, then exactly what are you? And this he's calling, the beginning of this is the second to last paragraph on page 41, the discovery, I am awareness or consciousness itself. So that's where he's leading us in this chapter 4 in the inward facing path, that hold on a minute. I am not these things that I'm aware of. I'm actually the awareness of these things. I'm the awareness and I'm the consciousness of all of these things. But then he says that itself isn't enlightenment or awakening. And where he's taking us from here is going to actually, be a description of the full evolution, that non-duality is the journey of this full evolution into knowing ourselves as we were created, not as our thoughts wish to paint the picture, but as the actual presence in which all the thoughts appear, through which everything is known, and out of which all of it is made. And that's kind of where Rupert is taking us, so beautifully. And he is very thorough, and he breaks things down so lovingly, so that we can actually digest as we go. Little by little, we're getting to actually grow into this, the knowing of this. So that was one point that I loved, how he helped us to understand the neti approach.
Yeah.
Natural in infancy, and then
Mhm.
we develop it consciously on the spiritual path in adulthood. And then the other thing that I really liked, well, I think I kind of talked about it in both, but I love every time he brings in the metaphor of the screen and the image, because for someone like me, I'm visual. That always helps me to understand what he's talking about. And one, find the screen and the image paragraph.
Kimberly, that always helps you what? Because you sort of went
Oh,
out.
sorry. It helps me to land, to get a deeper, like, real sense of what Rupert's talking about, because sometimes I get lost and I get cerebral, or I get very heady because these ideas are so, they have a complexity to them. But
Hmm.
when Rupert uses metaphors, it really helps me to get out of my head, and I'm visual. So it really helps me when he uses the metaphor on the screen, and the image is one of my favorites. And so with the neti process, Rupert basically says the neti process is like the screen realizing that the images that appear on it are not what the screen is comprised of.
Yeah.
The screen is basically saying, I'm not that storyline. I'm not that landscape. I'm not that, actor or actress. I'm that on which, in which, by which all of these things appear, but I am not those things.
Hmm.
And I just want to end with one little funny experiment that I tried after, spending time listening to Rupert talk about the screen and the image. And that is that I try watching TV or a movie or whatever, and paying attention to the screen while I'm watching TV.
Hmm.
And it reminds me of the process of allowing myself to be awareness and not the objects of awareness. At first, it feels very uncomfortable. It's kind of like the sand in the clam that creates the pearl. It's very uncomfortable. I'm very aware while I'm watching a television and I'm trying to look at the screen instead of the image. It seems to take a lot of work. And then after a while, it's not a big deal. Like, I can easily shift between, oh yeah, there's the screen. Which one would I rather give my focus to, the screen or what's on the screen? And the same thing in my experience with practicing these ideas. Where do I want to be right now? Do I want to be in presence and awareness? Or is there a reason I have to be in the objective, world, because I have to get something done? So I become fluent at moving between these two ways of seeing, because that's all they are. Nothing's different. It's just two different ways of seeing. So I used that to help me become comfortable with this kind of awkward shift at first, going from these two ways of being till finally it's not such a big deal to shift from, I've got to make plane reservations. And when I'm making reservations for an airplane, I have to be aware of objects. It's just true. I can't make plane reservations without typing on my computer or, looking something up on my phone. But I can also easily, when I'm put on hold, I can easily just allow myself to go into awareness and just be the consciousness in which all of this is unfolding.
Beautiful. I love that. And that's really, that really is a description of the goal, I feel, of the goal of all of these spiritual ideas. Rupert's, that's the goal of this book, is the goal to understand enough in the in the unfolding, in the way things are being given to us as a gift from the self, from the essence of presence itself, from divine understanding, is coming in to give us a filter to in which to understand it through the finite mind, or within the finite mind, as the finite mind really becomes less and less, and the infinite self becomes more pervading, as Rupert would say. And I love the way you just described that, because that's how we learn to move in time and space, knowing in experience, or knowing as in the backdrop, as the screen, that time and space is just occurring as an experience within the eternal, within presence, which is our true self. It's so freaking amazing to even talk about it, because it's way bigger than than we can grasp what it is. And the way you just described it, and what Rupert is doing, and why this book is so brilliant, is because it's bringing us into the understanding, so we can begin to have this gradual experience of precisely the way you described, shifting into time and space as necessary, while holding the space of knowing that we are the screen of presence. And it does take practice. It does take it does take a noticing, and it also takes a somewhat of a purification takes place, because as we purify the belief system, the beliefs of what we were so embedded to believing as persons, as the identity of that infant that became became this, and as that gets sort of as I don't even want to use the word let go, because I feel like it's more of a dissolving back into the knowing. It just gently dissolves back into our divine self, because it's not separate from us. And that's why I love how Rupert takes us back into the world to experience the world as this knowing presence. And as you said, as you're doing doing an airline reservation, typing, having a conversation with others, as we practice these ideas, and I don't mean practice in the, okay, I got to get my practice done. And I love how you opened your talk today talking about you don't want to be an awareness expert, but you are, you definitely are an awareness expert, because you are the thing that we're talking about. But you don't have to intellectually, and it's not even supportive to make this an intellectual attainment to knowing all of the content in Rupert's writing. It's using the content to saturate to be understood enough, so that the mind really is somehow, it feels it's no longer resisting the experience of allowing. And in the experience of allowing, now we, and with our understanding, now we become, by knowing that we are the screen, and we're allowing the movie to occur, remaining as the screen all the time. And as the screen, now we're actually living the experience not as living in time and space, but we're being the experience of presence and being informed from our essential self through the activity of the mind that is using the body as a vehicle to express itself and to do the day-to-day activities all the time, being in that state of the screen. And I also want to say that when we go into that meditation experience, that is getting us like completely away. We're not in this anymore. We are in the beingness. We're that thing of no words. Yes. And we're aware of it. It becomes a felt, visceral experience, and it's everything. It brings us back into that experience of, and that's why all of the traditions say, to find that space, be quiet, be still, because that's where that experience is realized. That's where the experience of our divine nature is experienced, right there. And that's how we prove it to not to someone else, but you prove it by your own experience of it. It just, and that's where you oh my God, this, yeah, you feel it, you know it, you see it, and it stays with you, and it's not something that's tangible. It's not an object. It's the knowingness of the self. Yeah. Thank you for that explanation. I love the way you see things, Kimberly. You definitely are seeing things with what I know the Course means as Christ vision, which is the same thing as you're seeing it in awareness. You're seeing it from this place of non-duality presence, and I'm just so grateful for the way Rupert has really put this on paper for us.
Me too.
Yeah.
Bill, can I just add one other thing to what Rupert was saying about the infant and the development of the infant?
Yeah.
Rupert is helping us to see that what's the difference between a pre-egoic consciousness and a post-egoic consciousness. And he talks about the infant having a pre-egoic consciousness and this inability to distinguish itself from its environment. So it sees something waving around, but it doesn't know that that's my hand. It doesn't know that. It has the sensation of something very warm and soft, but doesn't realize that that's its mother and not it. And this childlike quality, spontaneous, authentic childlike quality, is something that was used to describe the Buddha, for instance, has an innocent childlike quality. And what Rupert is telling us in chapter 4 is that what the difference between pre-egoic consciousness, the authentic childlike quality of pre-egoic consciousness, has to go through the neti process. It's necessary. It's not like you did something wrong and that's why you have a body and you're having this experience and you have an ego and all that. Rupert, and I'm not going to try to find the sentence right now, but he says straight out, the ego isn't the problem. It's the ego as an entity. Once we believe the ego is a self, that's when it becomes a problem. The ego helps us to make plane reservations. The ego has conversations with people. The ego gets in line at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. That's not the problem. It's when we don't know ourselves as the ego as a part of our experience as opposed to being the experience itself. And then Rupert says the post-egoic consciousness is the consciousness where we know the consciousness has a body, that the consciousness is the essence, it's the primary experience. That's all there is. And within all there is a childlike, authentic, spontaneous experience, because the moment we know ourselves as consciousness, we also know that there is no individual self that is the agent. I am not a separate agent of action. I am simply consciousness expressing. And when I align with that, when I stop fighting it by trying to make myself separate, I am authentic, I'm spontaneous, I'm childlike, because everything is like, wow, man, this is far out. I didn't make any of this happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what anything means, because the only thing that knows what anything means is something that's in the past. It's that separated self. So I just wanted to, as we're reading chapter 4, those are things that help me to remember why it's important to read what Rupert's saying, because we can get very tangled with this idea of, why did I become a body, and wasn't that a bad idea, and look at all the trouble it's caused. No, it's a necessary part of this development between pre-egoic, not knowing that we know everything, to post-egoic, knowing that we are the knower. It's the real essence of being fully developed. That's the full development, is this post-egoic consciousness.
Yeah. Thank you for unpacking that for us, Kimberly. That's brilliant, and I also really appreciate the way Rupert talks about that, because I used to think, like David was speaking a minute ago, and thank you guys for joining with David and Jenny for giving him some feedback that I think is important, that comes from Rupert on the chat side over here. But one of the things that I used to think was that the innocence, just like Rupert wrote about in this chapter, the innocence of the child, that consciousness must be what we are. We must be that. That's pure awareness, and it's actually not. It's innocent, and it doesn't know objective. It doesn't have objective connection yet. It doesn't see objective or duality in differences, but it still doesn't know what it is as that. It just is. It definitely just is. But it still is not aware of itself as awareness at that time. And I used to think that was the most primary consciousness was as that small, that brand new baby that doesn't even know, it sees movement. It doesn't know what movement is. It doesn't know what mommy or dad doesn't even know what sound is. And that's actually not it. And I love the way Rupert explains that in this chapter, because it makes it crystal clear that that's closer, and that's why we see the innocence in new children or animals or with living things. We see that such a innocence there, but it's still not consciousness at that moment. It's not known consciousness. It's consciousness, but it's not known consciousness. And I want to say that I love, Kimberly, the way you describe Rupert's writing style and how he has, he is unpacking. He's taken us right through this experientially as an understanding, so that we can come through it not, without the attachment of beliefs attached to this evolving experience that is being offered to us through understanding in the direct path, understanding in the nature of consciousness. And I love when he, at the last sentence in this chapter, it says, to fully liberate awareness from all superimposed beliefs and feelings. And that's what I was talking about. And that's what you were talking about. To fully liberate awareness from all superimposed beliefs and feelings, a further investigation is required as to the essential nature of awareness itself. And so we're actually in this book club, and even before the book club, all of us that are here we're really on an investigation. We're on this contemplative, experiential, I don't want to say journey. It's just an experience that we're evolving as awakened beings, but we are also liberating ourselves to what we essentially are. We're liberating ourselves to that. And I also love where Rupert says here that to fully liberate awareness from all superimposed beliefs and feelings. That's where the purification comes in. And that's where Rupert brings you into the experience of a guided meditation. And then he allows you to just look at, from that place of pure presence, he allows you to look at, just to see, like a passing cloud, these superimposed beliefs and senses and body identification. And he does it so in a very gentle, very harmonic way, so that it is just being dissolved back into the light that is noticing it, that is knowing it to be arising. And he's quite masterful at it in his meditation CDs, and I just really love it. And before we're almost at the hour, and the show is just about over. We have a couple minutes left. I want to say real quick that Anne, who is Annika Bro, I'm not sure how to do the last name, so I'm just going to say Annika from the Netherlands. She will be our guest next week on the show. She's amazing. I just love her. I had a nice Skype call with you, and when we talked, and I can't wait for you to be our next guest on this gathering. And thank you everyone for being here with us. And then also our next guest is going to be let's see, Andrea. Andrea is going to be our next guest after Annika, and I'm not sure who the next guests are after that. I would love for Jenny to come on, and she's so alive in the Facebook group. And thank you, Jenny, for supporting the questions and just being right there with, and David Spector, thank you for being here with us and for supporting all of this stuff, and William Price and all of you guys. Thank you for your involvement. Arthur Gay, I see you posting stuff on Facebook, and that's where I see us really supporting each other in this material in such a real way. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be part of your what we're doing together as a family. And I love you all. And Kimberly, I'm going to ask you to close us, and then we'll say goodbye.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bill. And thank you, everyone. I have looked forward to this every week, and I just feel really grateful. And so I love you. I love you. I love you. It's such a good feeling. Yeah. So let's just finish. Let's close our eyes just for a moment. And take another couple nice deep breaths, and just notice if there's anything that started to go up into the head and started to work in the mind and the brain. Let's breathe in and breathe out, and let all that energy come back down, settle into the groundedness of the mid body. Let it just come down. And from here, take some nice deep breaths. And in a moment of silence, invite whatever point or points that really became clear in your mind, or caused you to really sit up and listen, or gave you that spark of inspiration. Allow those ideas to come into your mind right now. Knowing that those are specific to your journey, those ideas are really alive for you. And maybe you investigate one of those ideas more deeply in a meditation, or you look up a YouTube video from Rupert Spira specifically about one of those ideas. But notice that they come up because they're part of your unique divine gift. So honor that. And thank you so much again for coming and being with Bill and letting me be a part of it. I honor you. Namaste.
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 Thank you, everyone. I love you.
I love you.